Hey guys, I'm out here in the middle of the desert. I tried to do this in my office and I just cannot sit in that chair in front of a camera and make a video. It's kind of crazy. Anyway, if you're new here, my name is Brett. I run this channel, Born 100 Years Too Late. I ride mules and take my hounds and I go to the mountains and I ride and find, different places and try to find a lion track too, so my dogs can trail. Anyway, I ride mules. And as most of you guys know, my good mule, Big Agnes, died here about 3 weeks ago. And a lot of people have asked, what happened and whatever. So I figured instead of trying to answer all those comments, I'll make this video. I got up that morning and I left to go out there early. I was gonna go somewhere. And when I got out there, I got 3 mules. I got my old mule, Jet Johnson. I got Ruth, the mule I used to pack. And then I have Big Agnes. And when I went out there, the dogs were barking and raising Cain. And I looked and the Ruth and Jet were loose. And of course they took off running with their head up in the air and they took off and went down by the interstate and I had to get in the buggy and go down there and I got them gathered up and I ran them in the neighbor's roping arena. And so then I came back. I didn't know where Big Agnes was and I got to looking around for her and I couldn't find her. And then finally I found her on the other side of my dog kennels and she was just kind of delirious, just walking with her head down and she acted like she didn't even know where she's at. So I just went up there and put a lead rope around her neck and led her back to the pen. And her belly was really bloated, really pulled up, or really bloated out. And so I went and got the other mules, brought them back, fixed the pen, and sat there and watched her. And I thought, well, she was twitching her tail and everything. And I said, well, she's got the colic. And it looked like the reason the panels had come apart and all the mules had got out, looked like while she was rolling, she got her head hung underneath a panel. So I'm sure she struggled there for a while. Anyway, I had some place to go, and I went, we always gave horses and everything Banamine. It's a muscle relaxer, and that's about the best thing you can do to when they have colic. So I gave her a shot of Banamine, and then I called the vet and left the vet a message. Of course, I live out of town about 20 miles, and it's kind of hard, it's hard to get a vet to come out there. And sure enough, I didn't get one out there, but she acted like she was feeling better. My grandson come out, he was helping me that day. And I told him, I said, well, just keep an eye on her. Don't let her lay down and roll. And I got to run some errands and go to town and whatever. Shoot, it wasn't 2.5, 3 hours later, he called me and he said, Agnes just laid down and died. And it was really kind of sad because when I was out there with her and I was giving her a shot, she just put her head on my shoulder and you could kind of tell that she was just in pain, and she's used to me taking care of her. And she wanted me to do something, but there was just nothing. I gave her Banamine. That's about all I could do. I guess you could have tubed her and ran some mineral down in her, and it could have been anything. It could have been the colic. I think it was colic, but it could have been sand colic because she was a pig. She was always at the ground picking. I got a lot of sand there, and then or while I was gone feeding someone else feeding, we could have got a baling twine in there, and she might have chewed it up and swallowed it, got it in her intestine. I don't know. Anyway, she's gone now. But it was kind of a hard thing for me. Me and that mule really got along. Now I still have my old mule Jet Johnson, and he's on retirement though. He still meets me at the gate every time I go out there. He walks up to the gate and meets me. He's a regular character, and I've been riding mules for about 25 years now, and prior to that, I rode horses, and I rode a lot of horses. I was raised on a quarter horse ranch. My dad had a ton of brood mares, and I halter broke colts and broke colts to ride, and I showed horses. I calf roped, and then after I got older, I team roped, and I got fairly good team roping. I roped at a real high level, and I enjoyed that. And when I started riding out and hunting my hounds and everything, I ran into a rancher, a friend of mine, a guy I respect a lot, and I was riding real nice young gelding. He was only 3 years old, and I was riding him in a bosal, and I was riding him out there in those rocks and everything, and taking those hounds for a big old ride or a big old circle, and he seen me. He said, "You're riding your nice young horse up here," and I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "You know what?" He said, "For what you do, you need to get a mule." He said, "Yeah, I guess so." I'd seen where all the old lion hunters had mules, and he pointed his finger at me, and he said, "And get a good one." So, one thing, I had a company that owed me a lot of money, and they hadn't paid me in like 3 years. And I told my wife, it was a couple days later, I told my wife, I said, if they pay me, and they had owed me for like 3 years. I said, if they pay me in the next week or so, I'm just going to go buy those. Oh, a friend of mine called me and said, "Hey, there's 2 mules for sale. The guy got a divorce and his wife got the mules and she's selling them and she just wants to get rid of them." So I had told my wife, I said, "Well, if that money comes in the next couple of weeks, because I've been after those people, I'm gonna go buy those mules." That day I checked the mail and that money was in the mailbox. I said, "Man, it's meant to be." So I loaded up that afternoon and I drove. It was about 200 miles. I drove and went and picked up those 2 mules. And they were, I call it Jenny, of course, and Jet Johnson, Jet. And I got them. I didn't know anything about mules. I rode all my life, but I'd always heard the horror stories about mules and how they were, and the different kind of myths about them. Really, I mean, there's some of those myths that are true. And I just started riding them, and I remember the first time we got on them, I put my grandson on one. He's a little bitty guy. I put him on Jet because Jet was supposed to be. No, I put him on Jet and I got on the black mule, and they acted silly there at the place. They didn't act right and everything. And anyway, we rode them. I left them tied up at the end of the property because they acted like they were a real barn sour, or they didn't want to leave the property. Anyway, but I got where I really liked Jet. Now, out of the 2 mules, I would ride Jet and I would pack Jenny. And if anybody went with me, they would ride Jenny. And Jenny was a good mule when she was with Jet. And she was a good pack mule. You could pack anything on her. We packed a bear on her, deer, lion, everything. And my grandson rode her, my wife rode her, everybody rode her that went with me. And but if you rode her out by herself, you were miserable because you were pedaling her the whole time, and she was trying to turn around and get back, and she was stubborn. Like she didn't want to go anywhere. She'd lock up, she'd vapor lock, and it was a pain. Now Jet, me and him become real good buddies. What do you think, buddy? It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But we're almost there. We can top out pretty easy now. Just steepness, no rough, no big boulders. I mean, just like me and Agnes, Jet, we spent so much time out there alone with each other, and I think that's where a mule is probably different than the horses I rode. Is these mules get attached to you when you're out there by yourself with them all day, for 4 or 5 days a week. They get real attached to you, and they get where they depend on you. And you can tell that by watching some of the videos with Agnes, how she acted. She wouldn't leave me. Turn around, Agnes. Don't fall down. Agnes, get right back up here. Not right there. Look at that. She didn't turn around. She don't like caves either. And Jet was pretty close to the same way. And yeah, I mean, and he, difference between Agnes and Jet, you didn't have to pedal him. I never wore spurs with him. You went, and he went. And he never refused to go anywhere. He'd go anywhere. He's a little smaller mule, but he was tough. And it wasn't always roses with him. I had some big fights with him. Agnes, you had to pedal her. She never refused to go anywhere, but she didn't ever go at the pace I wanted to go. She was a little lackadaisical. She would just kind of, and every now and then she'd get her own ideas, and I think that's a mule, they get an agenda and they want to go this way and you want to go that way, and they'll neck rein like Agnes. She neck reined real good. when she wanted to. And when she had her own idea about where she wanted to go, then I'd have to plow rein her a little bit. But me and Agnes had some good trips together. I never had a problem with her. I had her fall down with me one time, and that was I got in a bad spot, and there was some rock on a slope, but the rock was covered with a little layer of mud, and when we hit that, her feet just went out from under. But one of the differences between a mule and a horse is a horse would have done that, and he would have been grabbing his hind end and trying to keep from falling, and they hurt you worse by trying not to fall. Where Agnes, when her feet started to go down, she just went down to her knees and just sat there. And I got off of her and I led her up, and she got up and went on. I think Agnes was I think she was probably about 16 years old. I've been riding her. I think I started riding her 2015 or 2016 a little bit. Oh, I know. I started riding her because my brother-in-law came down and my nephew rode the black mule, Jenny. And I put my brother-in-law on jet, and I had to start riding Agnes then. And I'd packed her already. We'd made several pack trips across the wilderness with her. And first day she tried to get away from me a couple times. I just ride her with a ring snaffle, you know. And second day she was a better mule. She had a couple little issues. The third day she got lazy, you know. I needed some better, you know, I need some spurs. She was a pretty good pack mule. She was a little big, but she was pretty good. I don't like a pack mule that's that high off the ground. But it's hard to get your panniers up there. But anyway, I just got on her and started riding her, you know, and she was a little slow. No, she wasn't scared of nothing, including me. And I remember I was up there on top of that ridge, you know, and she kind of got kind of heavy and not wanting to go. And I took the end of my rope and just spanked her on the butt. We took off, and I had to turn her head around on that up there and anything, but I learned, you know, to kind of take it easy on her after a while. And then later on, you know, she still, after about 4 or 5 days, you know, riding hard, she would get real heavy. I call it heavy, like she just didn't want to go. So I put spurs on, and I'd never rode her with spurs. And then after I started riding her with spurs, I had to put a bit in her mouth. I just rode her with a ring snaffle until that point. And then and a ring snaffle is a real mild bit. It's just it's broken in the middle, got some big old rings. You got some real good side leverage on them. And but anyway, when I put spurs on, I had to switch and I put a little grazing bit in her mouth with a chain curb strap. And I told everybody, I said, well, when I put spurs on, I had to tighten up the brakes a little bit. But I never had an issue with her trying to run off. She never tried to kick a dog. She never tried to kick me. She was a good mule, and I know I'm going to miss her. Like I said, I rode lots of horses, but this mule market is absolutely crazy. I find a mule, man, and I don't want to train anything. I just want to I need something I can just get on and go. And I don't want to mess. I'm 62 years old. I don't want to take a chance of getting on something that's going to throw a fit and get me hurt. And, you know, a lot of guys, hey. A lot of guys get hurt at this age, and then they're done. You know, they're done they break a hip or split their pelvis or whatever, you know, and they're done. And I don't want to take that chance. There's a lot of places I want to go. I'm sitting here looking at a mountain range that I can't, that there's treasure, there's legends of treasure all over those mountains. I mean, good stuff. I'm going to share it with you guys. And I'm going to ride those mountains. I'm going to pack across. I'm going to look up every little single canyon, every little ridge, just to see if I can find any sign of treasure. I just think that'd be so much fun. But anyway, I find a mule that I like. Oh man, I like this mule. It's a nice sucker, you know. And it was a mule that I could have even gone to a little jackpot team roping, because I used to rope a lot. I could even go to a roping and rope on this mule. 26,000 bucks. I said, my gosh. I told my wife that night, I said, man, I got champagne taste on a Keystone Light budget. And then I find some more mules, you know, one's $4,000, some are $7,000, some are $12,000. And then another one I found that I really, really liked. And tried to make a deal with the guy. He raises mules. And I thought, well, I can give you some advertisement because a lot of people watch my videos. And they'll see this mule. They'll say, "Where, you know, he's a good mule. I'll ride him, get him shown. I'm a pretty good hand on one." And $16,000. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I think, you know, when you're looking for a mule, you need to establish what you want. You know, what is important to you. To me, I want one that'll, you know, go ahead and step out, that's not going to balk up on me, one that's big enough to carry me all day in rough country. I need one that's safe, you know, double safe, because I hunt by myself. I don't want to be out there in the backcountry, in the wilderness, or up on the side of one of these mountains and have one throw a fit and hurt me. Yeah, so anyway, my spread shop, my cups, my tumblers, my hoodies, my t-shirts. Buy something for the mule fund because I get a little money out of that. And I tell you what happened is I hired a guy that's building me a little office there by my house. I got a shipping container, and he's real good at doing that kind of stuff. So I'd kind of put some money aside, and he's going to build that. Well, after I already made a deal with him to do that work, that's when Agnes died. So I don't have that. I don't have a new mule budgeted in this year. So if you guys feel like I have a hard time asking people, but if you feel like it, buy something from my spread shop. Go to my Patreon. You can join my Patreon, or you can join the membership page here. Any of that. I try to provide some exclusive content on those from time to time. I'm not as good at it as I should be. I'm going to try to be better. But anyway, onward and upward, guys. Thanks for watching. This is a little different kind of video, but I appreciate your support and for watching the videos. And there's going to be more to come. Let me go over some things that I got planned. First place, these mountains right here. I'm going to go up there and pack across them, and I'm going to explore them, see if I can find any signs of those caves or the treasure or anything. I got some maps and stuff I'm going to use. An old mining town. You can almost see the mountain from here. There's an old, I'd call it a ghost town, but it's an old mining camp that was abandoned. I'm gonna go ride around it and explore it a little bit. Of course, and I always have my hounds with me, and I'm always looking for a track for them to trail. And then I've got some long rides scheduled. As soon as the weather gets a little bit better, I'm going to travel this Camino Real, I call it, across the Jornada del Muerto. It's going to be like 90-something miles across through here. And I'm going to ride right out of my yard and take a pack mule, and I'm going to go across just like they did back in the old days. And then, of course, I got the Butterfield Trail. I'm going to ride it. I got a little bit of logistics to work out because it's going to take me about 7 or 8 days to do that. And there's a section of private land in there that I got to figure out. I got to see if I can get permission to go across it. And if I can't get permission to go across it, I got to figure out how I can go around it. So those are some things coming up, you know, and don't forget OnX Maps. OnX Maps supports me. And if you're going to buy the app, the OnX Maps app, you can use the code 100 years and you get 20% off. And then I get a little kickback from that too. So that's going to help me on my mule purchase. So yeah, go to OnX Maps, Ellis Canvas Tent. I've always wanted one of those cowboy bedrolls. And if you watched my last video, they sent me a cowboy bedroll. And good people. I mean, anybody, that thing is, you know, your sleeping bag goes in, it's got a mattress in it. Sleep really good, especially for an old man like me. And then Mountain Ridge Gear. I've been using their stuff for years and years. You know, I use their horn bags. I call them horn bags. Got a little bag in the front, and then the saddle bags. And they have some panniers that I wanted that have these pouches front and back. And I called the guy up. I said, I got these pack trips I make, and I'm going to be making some more pack trips. Man, I'd sure like to have a set of your panniers. He said, oh, if you're going to use them in your videos, I'll just send them to you. So, man, you know, support these people. They're good people. And I'm working on with a company that has a product, they said, that'll keep your mules or your equine from colicking. And I contacted them and said, man, that worked really good in my videos right now, because I had a mule that I had on all my videos, colic and die, and I dang sure don't want to go out and spend a bunch of money on a new mule and have that risk again. Now, in the past, I've fed bran to keep my horses from colic. I never thought I had to worry about it with mules, but yeah, so I'm working with them. They might give me some product to see what I can use. So anyway, like I said, onward and upward. Thanks for watching, guys. Oh, old man here.